Ladies and gentlemen, we have the first best of 5 series in the 2026 lock-in tournament in the LCS playoff bracket. We have Sentinels versus DSG. It was in a phenomenal series, so let's start and go right into it. Okay, so we've got game 1 here. Now, looking at the draft, I would say I pretty heavily prefer the DSG draft. Now, the reason that I say that is when I look at Sentinel's team comp and the lanes that they picked, none of them really have agency over the game. Sion's not really going to be beating Ambessa. Akali versus Orianna. Now, Orianna is very strong. Akali is the one that's going to have agency in the side lane. Orianna really only wins that lane early game. So unless something happens very early and she gets ahead, I would say Akali is the one that with agency in that lane. And then on the bot side of the map, you have Ezreal Karma on DSG. So even though Jhin Nico is quite strong, I think all of the lanes are pretty DSG favorite in terms of what they can do. And that's very difficult for Sentinels to deal with because it's very hard to stop your opponent from doing all the plans they want to do. Now, that doesn't mean that Sentinels comp is just terrible, but I find it a lot more difficult to play. Oh yeah. This is going to be a long video, so strap in. Make sure I have some water. I've got my water here as well. And I'll try to skip past all the notes that aren't too important to the things that happen. So in this first game, it was a pretty slow start, which is pretty typical in a series. Usually the first game, you're kind of feeling each other out. But in this early laning phase, I'll full screen it. And I'll move my camera down here. Hopefully I remember to change that every time. But you'll see there's a trade coming in here from DSG. Bot lane winning this trade. At the same time, Kryra got the scuttle that people so frequently die at. And at the same time, Castle is going to all-in impact and get his flash. So DSG doing great in the early game. They're winning all their lanes. The jungle has an advantage. Everything's going pretty well. Again, not a huge lead per se, but indicative that the game is starting out well for them. And with this time spent, DSG is going to set up for this dragon, and Sentinels is not even going to bother contesting. They're kind of poking their heads in, but with Akali moving down from the bot side of the map, there's really no safe way for Sentinels to walk in. So it's just free dragon for DSG. Good job from them. Now, talk about the psychology a bit of pro play in League of Legends. When your opponent does something, very often you want to trade it or stop them from doing it. If you can't do that, it feels pretty bad. So I fully understand why Sentinels, after not fighting the dragon, just run immediately to grubs. But the timing just isn't really there. They can't kill all of these grubs in time. Now, they could have gotten this and maybe gotten away. But against a Nocturne, you have to be very careful. And DSG goes for the engage here. And this fight ends up being very good for DSG. We'll just let this play out. Nice little ulti from Dark Wings there. Or nice shockwave. Get some flashes, get some summoners. Overall, 2 for 0. Sentinels do get all the grubs, but they die for it. And I would say that this is definitely favored in DSG. Even if you take away the dragon, I think these 2 kills are way more important than the 3 grubs in this instance. Because DSG was already winning these lanes, and now it's going to be harder for them to, endure this laning phase. We'll move forward a little bit. And right, so here we go. Hambach looks for a bot gank, and Kryra immediately pings blue. It's a little hard to see, but he's pinging on the way to blue. And this is a setup for the play that's about to happen. Hambach's a bit late, but he's not so late that Kryra actually gets this because Kryra was not close to the blue in any case. Darkwings comes over, protects the blue, but then takes bad pathing and face checks Call Me. Now, Kelma did want to base and has a lot of gold, but if you're face checking an Akali against a Nocturne, it's kind of not allowed. And 1 death, okay, that's pretty bad, but it's not the end of the world. But Hambach is kind of baiting because Sentinel's bot lane is on the way. Now, this effectively is a 5v3 because all of Sentinels is here. Darkwings and Hambach and Huki were all here. They just all died, and now these 2 are still Impact and Rahel are here to clean up. But it's effectively a 5v3. And the entire time, Sajed is pushing bot lane. Lions comes in at the very end. So I guess 5v4. But it ends up being a 4-for-2. And it was 5v4. And Sajed was just pushing bot, getting plates. So this was just awful for Sentinels. Just absolutely awful situation that happened. Not necessarily like they played awful, just... I understand what they're going. They're going for, you know, it was a 45 essentially. Long form 45, really just a 5v3, and then Karma showed up at the very end. But the beginning of this is so bad that it doesn't matter, really. Abak is baiting, but there's just still too much damage from Kryra and Call Me here. He has to be a little more respectful. But ultimately, this is a long fight, so we're going to skip this. Ultimately, DSG have the advantage and are continuing their snowball. And this was a pretty controlled game from DSG. This is another free dragon. Sentinels go for a steal, but don't get it. And only a couple minutes later, the Herald is up, and DSG secured that. So they're doing the snowball well. They're fighting on Nocturne ulti. And we'll go to about 18 minutes. Because at about 18 minutes is when the solo laners are matching their respective laners. So here, it's not that necessarily the case. So I was talking about Orianna versus Akali earlier. And one of the difficulties why this matchup's not as good outside of lane is you're very vulnerable to death. And another champ that is very annoying for Orianna is Nocturne. So on a side lane, Orianna is very scared this game. Even against the Ambessa, she's going to be very scared this whole side lane phase. So that makes it even harder for Sentinels. Not only are they behind, but they also don't really have a winning side lane, because it's not like Sion's winning. Sion can win, but not with the way the lane's going. So they have two losing side lanes, and they're against Ezreal Karma mid lane. It's very difficult to find a path for Sentinels into the game, which is why kind of nothing's happening. DSG has full control of the game. They are slowly but surely increasing the size of their lead. They drop the Herald, almost kill the mid tower. The dragon's coming up, and it is just another free dragon. Sentinels can't do anything. Call Me isn't really at threat to a dive. It's not that easy. Now, Aatrox W does reveal stealth, but it's still nothing. They fight over the crab. Rahel opens up just for the aura points. And yeah, another just finally got some action coming up here, but only a little bit. But it is very important. Rahel was trying to take this mid wave and does end up having to burn flash. This doesn't lead into anything directly, but there's only 4 minutes until the next dragon. 5 minutes is longer than 4 minutes, and 5 minutes is the cooldown of flash. So now that ultimate has secured Jhin no flash for the next fight, which might come in handy or might be relevant for this next fight. This is probably the biggest mistake I'd say that DSG made, and it comes from Castle just being a bit too over aggressive here on side lane. He has no ulti, and this is one of the powers of Jhin, is he's actually quite good at ganking side lanes because of his incredibly long range, long duration route. But Castle does manage to trade back, which is kind of crazy. So even though it's 3v1, he still trades 1-for-1. Now it's still good for Sentinels because they got Akali TP, and they get gold from, like, they get more gold from the kill, and Orianna's pushing top for free. So definitely a good for Sentinels, but barely. Not enough that you'd feel good about it. You wish you got that without the death. Additionally, Nico had to use flash, so that's not going to be up for the next fight, which is the next thing that happens. So we just wait for the dragon. Things happen, but nothing really happens. And we'll see how this fight plays out. Now, DSG does have to dive. They don't have poke. They do have Ezreal, but they're definitely a dive comp. They just want to send it. And dragon is spawning in 15 seconds, but DSG pulled the trigger onto the no flash Jhin. And to their credit, I think Sentinels played this fight pretty well. I think this is a very hard fight to win from Sentinel's perspective, and it was very close. I think it was 2 for 3. Yeah, 2 for 3. Not bad, especially considering your no flash Jin got ulted, and you know there's 8 bajillion things that can kill him. But they get the soul, which is really what they wanted. Afterwards, we're looking for how is DSG going to get this Baron. They started up a little bit, but then peel off. But eventually, Hambach, no flash from that earlier fight, gets caught here. A nice ulti from Castle, predicting the dash over the wall. And Hambach goes down here. And this just leads to a free Baron. So he does eventually go down. And this is kind of the worst person to die. Call Me almost dies here, which is hilarious, but this is leading to Baron. They decide to try to contest it, but there's just no jungler. They go for the fight. The Baron gets secured, but look at where the carries are from Sentinels. There's just no there's no way that there's a follow-up here. Ori ulti is down because of the Hambach play. Orianna ulti was used there. So there's not really follow-up. And even, like, let's just pretend for a second that you somehow could just kill these two instantly. One of them has GA, and you're still losing the fight. Call Me's on the back line. Castle dies with his GA. The Jet's full HP. It doesn't really matter. It was completely... It was desperation from Sentinels. And, you know, they were very desperate. This game does not last much longer. I'm pretty sure DSG do just, you know, end the game relatively smoothly. Maybe some minor hiccups here. Looks like Castle dies. I stopped writing notes at this point. I don't know if the volume is good on to the casters, but Chad was talking about how this is the best game DSG has played. I haven't watched all of their games too closely, but this was definitely a very controlled game. Especially from the Nocturne's perspective, it was very nice feeling. Okay, so some slight inting happened in this game. I think I left near the end of this game, but... Oh, right, there's another fight. Okay. This is how this other fight happened. There's another fight. We'll see how it goes. The engage happens, and it's just complete wipe, basically. It's not even close. Cryer doesn't even go down, even though he has GA. But this fight is not even close. Almi got his R2 interrupted. Didn't matter. Cryer just focuses the other. Okay. It's GG. A really good game. Really good game one from DSG. Very impressive. I think Sentinels didn't have enough things they could do in the early game. Things they could press. And I like the way that Sentinels adapted in the second game. So I think the big thing about this draft, there are two big things to me. One is Sentinels have first pick Rise. Also, something to note is Sentinels and DSG played on the same sides every game. It was always Sentinels on blue side and DSG on red. And for almost all of the games, Sentinels was first pick and DSG was last pick. The way that the picks work is a little weird. So one team picks first pick or last pick, and the other team picks side. DSG wanted red side and last pick for most of the series, and Sentinel wanted blue side and first pick for most of the series. They just kind of kept doing the same thing. And as the series progressed, depending on which team won, they would always pick the one they wanted. So it was pretty funny. But in a game theory perspective, it is interesting to see who was supposed to deviate when. But that's more meta. Talk about specifically this game. I think the big changes is one, they have Rise locked in, and Rise is when Azir and Orianna are gone, probably the premier, agency champion in mid lane. There's not many champions that can affect the map and have strong lane like Rise can. So I really like that from Sentinels. DSG opting to ban other things. And the other important aspect of this draft is the Blitzcrank into Ashe Seraphine. Now, I think Sentinels comp is better for a very simple reason. So when this Ashe Seraphine gets locked in, I think it almost forces DSG to be a snowball comp. I don't think it's that reasonable to expect to outscale when the enemy enchanter support exists and you have a Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank's not really one of those champs that scales with items. He basically doesn't scale with anything. He just, if he lands his hook, he's useful. If he lands a hook at 50 minutes, then he's OP. But that's probably not going to happen unless it's onto the Mega Gnar or the Jarvan with GA. And therefore, DSG kind of has a snowball. And it really sucks having to snowball into a Rise. Yes, Anivia is a counter, but she's not really a counter that does anything in the early game. She's kind of a counter that stops Rise from doing stuff. But that's not really good enough. And also doesn't really stop Rise. Like, it's not just, oh, Rise cannot do anything against Anivia. It's much more nuanced than that. There's a lot to the game. The first thing that happens, though, which is quite good for Sentinels, is Kryra is here trying to invade this red. So some good understanding or scouting from Sentinel's side to know that Kryra might look for this red invade and to be ready to block it. This sets Kryra back a little bit and is a good start for Sentinels. Excuse me, water's delicious. Okay.
Having so much confidence, not only do you confidence, which is just great to see. Because
first thing that happens this game, early game was pretty standard. Kryra was a bit slow on his clear, but for the most part, it was relatively normal. But this top lane 1v1 is the first thing that happens. And Castle, I think, identifies the fact that he doesn't have XP for level 6 before Gnar does. So if we pause right now, that Impact has killed all the melees and hits level 3 first, or level 6 first. And Castle is just too late, and that means this trade is really bad for Castle, even if it was 1v1. But against a Rise, this is what I'm talking about. It's not 1v1. This is what Rise wants to do. And eventually they kill him. It takes a while, but eventually they kill him. This is good. These roams are not necessarily that good for Rise, although when he gets the kill, they are. They're more important for the lane you're roaming to, and this makes this lane a lot easier for Impact. Gnar vs Renekton is one of those lanes that's very common in pro play. It's a pretty common trade, and that's because both sides have their advantages and disadvantages. They both have the ability to snowball on the other, but they're also not that snowbally. But this is definitely good for the Gnar. A couple minutes later, Kryra finally back into the game, gets the gank onto Huhi, and this 3v3 kind of weird 3v3 looking thing ends up being really good for DSG, and this kind of brings Kryra back into the game. This is essentially the early advantage goes away completely, and this is a really good gank from DSG. The reason that this happened was Lions missed a hook off screen. At the bottom left, you can see, oh, I'll go for a screen. Oh, I also forgot to move my camera, so I'm sorry that you didn't see the Rise. I'll try to remember that. If not, I'll put something. But there was no hook. That's why Huhi felt safe to walk up. But when you get flash stunned by the Pantheon and the Blitzcrank, you're still going to die as a squishy Seraphine. So, really good from DSG to get back into the game. And nothing happens for a little bit. Yada, yada, yada. This game was insane, by the way. This was a crazy game. It gets very insane very quickly. So, a small mistake here from Castle. He's trying to crash this wave, but I think he just didn't realize that Impact was still going to be Mega or something. I'm not really sure. But he kind of just dies for this. Now, there is some merit to how worth it is this for Darkwings, because it's, like I said, not that good for the roamer if they don't get the kill. And in this case, he didn't get the kill, but it's really bad for Renekton. It sucks a lot, because not only does Gnar get a kill, he also gets the plates, and you deny a wave. Kami gets the plates mid lane, so it's not like he's even necessarily more behind than he was before. I think he's actually up in gold compared to Rise after that roam. But this is just so good for the Gnar. Gnar is going to be able to base here, be completely fine, have a good base. Oh, and there's already another fight. Anyways, DSG trap and kill. Oh, and barely don't kill. Sorry, excuse me. They barely don't kill Hambach. Lots of stuff happened, but everybody manages to escape. Everyone managed to escape. Nothing really crazy happened, but lots of stuff was burned. Sajed both sums, Hambach flash, Lions heal, Ghost heal, Ghost. Everyone used everything. So that's important for the fight that's coming up very shortly. A hook onto the Blitzcrank, and because of that earlier fight, Sajed doesn't have cleanse. So I might say Blitzcrank has flash. Why is he not flashing this hook or this arrow? Well, if he flashes it, Sajed's gonna get hit. So he can't really flash it, otherwise he's grieving his teammate. And this comes down to this fight that happened earlier. So Lions is kind of the sacrificial lamb here. He goes down, but a TP in from Anivia? I didn't realize she TP'd to this. Anivia TP's in, and they just go for this fight. Rise is pretty late compared to the Anivia, because Anivia TP'd in. Rise ulted in. But it ends up being good for Sentinels. So they undo the mistake that they did earlier on losing that earlier 3-3 with this 4v4 that they end up winning. So very good. And now Sentinels is starting their snowball. Top's winning in isolation. They've killed Renekton twice. So the Gnar and Renekton always seeing the entire team on both sides is really good for the one that's winning. In this case, the Gnar. He's up 1,000 gold. He's getting some plates. He's not making Castle miss any of the CS really, but he is still getting an advantage, and he got his top lane quest. Okay. Let's keep going. And Sentinel get the free Herald. So now we're going to look at here in the bot side of the map. Impact's in the river, and DSG see an angle to try to collapse onto him. They get the empowered stun from Renekton and get the hook, but there just isn't enough damage. Castle has Stridebreaker first, which is what you take against Gnar, but it's also not that much damage. It's not the damage that a Black Cleaver or a Shojin would have, or an Eclipse even. So there's not enough damage, even though he's mini. Even though Impact's mini, he doesn't die. And this results in a very crazy play where Castle dies, and then Anivia has to TP down to try to defend his team. They don't end up going down, I think. Maybe Lions goes down. A nice little cheeky little wall here from Call Me. It's actually really, I guess Herald is just really bad against Anivia. Because that, I don't know, like he just put the wall, you know, bisecting the Herald, and it just seemed impossible to not. Like, Hambach was running away, aware that Anivia can do that, but people usually just wait until you're about to crash it, not just put the wall right on top of the Herald, so. Anyways, this play's still going. Hambach wants to take this Gromp. Actually, I think the play is done. Okay, never mind. There were a lot of games. A lot of stuff happened in a lot of these games. I don't remember exactly the order that things happened, or etc. etc. Okay. So Darkwings has to ghost, but at the same time, Lions and Sajed get Jarvan ulted. And he has flash, but he got arrowed. And with no Merc Treads, that arrow's long. So good play from Hambach to get the pick. And this is where DSG kind of go crazy. So I think this is another instance of DSG fighting an outnumbered fight. Last game, it worked out really well. That was that 5 versus 3 for a long time in the near the blue buff on blue side. Here, it also, I'd say, goes pretty well because it's a straight up 5v4 and they go 3 for 2. So DSG's doing a really good job at contesting. Oh, actually, it's not even 3 for 2 because Darkwings here dies as well. Barely goes down. Ooh. And that's a big shutdown. So Sentinels was getting a lot of these advantages. They got the Herald and the next Dragon. But that straight up 5v4, Sentinels unexpected plays, or excuse me, DSG's unexpected plays catch Sentinels off guard and sort of bring them back into the game. So, oh, I skipped ahead a little bit. So now we're talking about this next Drake. So this is shortly after that last fight. So some key summoner spells are down, and Anivia has no flash, Ryze has no flash. We'll see how it goes. Arrow goes wide. Secure from Kryra. And after Lions goes down, Hambach goes in onto the top lane and jungler, but he kind of gets split off from his team. He's not near the Seraphine, so the Kaisa smartly decides to pick him off. It ends up being a 1-for-1. I'd say pretty good for DSG. They got the dragon. It's a 1-for-1. They also lost their support for the jungler. So pretty good for DSG, all things considered. It looks like they're coming back. As the series progresses, I think it was pretty consistent that Sentinels was doing at least one thing wrong in the mid game that DSG was capitalizing on. And in this case, it's not necessarily this, it's the play before this, but Sentinels had a pretty solid lead, and now the game is basically even. And I think for the most part, DSG was playing the mid game macro a bit better, but there were also some questionable decisions that were being made. And a perfect example is what is about to happen, where, you know, Baron's up, but Pantheon is just sending it and is just inting. And that's a dead jungler at 24 minutes for Ash Arrow and Ghost. So that was a bit strange. So DSG's in another situation where it's 5v4. And in this case, actually it's not 5v4 because Gnar doesn't have TP. So it is basically 4v4. And there's no jungler, but the Baron's not low enough. DSG just goes full for the fight. Rahel gets jumped on and killed too quickly. Then a nice stun from Anivia kills the Ryze. So Sentinel almost, you know, it almost looks like they're going to be losing Baron soon, but a nice impact Gnar ultimate kills through the cleanse. He manages to kite out, who he manages to survive. So despite Kryra basically just running it down, Sentinels don't get the Baron. DSG get a fight win and now have a gold lead going 25 minutes into the game. Okay, this game was very crazy. So this one is a bit longer, even though it's not literally longer. There's just a lot of stuff that's happening. So we're still fighting around Baron and Dragon. DSG was hovering around Dragon, but Sentinels went to Baron. And here, Castle gets full chain CC'd from 100 to 0. And he has tenacity. He's got a Sterix. He doesn't have Mercs. He does have a Sterix. But even despite the Sterix, he still gets 100 to 0'd. And in this case, with their no Renekton, who is quite strong now, he was behind the Gnar, but is now ahead of the Gnar. Even though Gnar is still ahead of the curve relative to the game state, he's even more ahead of that, just because he was so strong in all these fights. They're fighting down a member. But DSG opt not to go for this one. They instead go for Soul Point, and Sentinels get Baron. Now, Baron is not as strong as it was in the past season, so you do need to make something happen with this Baron. Otherwise, you know, Soul is pretty good, and they're one away. A flip of a fight, or a flip of a Soul fight, can be very dangerous from Sentinels who want to win guaranteed. They don't want to leave it up to, there's a 50% chance that they get the smite and win the game off it. So this bot Siege is very suspicious. Darkwings is so insane for just standing in that the entire time through the entire duration of the wall, and Kryra wants to punish, but he is kind of inting again, and that's a bit unfortunate. This is the Baron Siege from Sentinels. Hambach, I think, tried to buffer that, but it just hit a grub or something. And after a bit, MPEC goes in, gets a Gnar ulti eventually. And overall, this fight was pretty okay for DSG, I would say. Because even though it was technically I think, down. Yeah, because Cassis dies here. So it is technically bad in terms of numbers. They kind of stopped the Baron push. And even though there's like a 4K Baron gold swing, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. 3 for 2. Pantheon is not playing well this game. Kryra, this one was a bit of a rough one, I will say. Honestly, Kryra, I think Hambach was low-key smurfing this entire series. I'll talk about that more as the game progresses, but Hambach was playing really well. Okay, so Dragon Soul Point. DSG on Dragon Soul Point. Sentinels want to take control of bot side, and here Anivia shows top on this wave. So there's a mid wave here. DSG is not contesting because their Anivia is showing top. But when Anivia stays to push this next top wave, Sentinel's like, Anivia is there. There's no wave clear. None of these other champs have any wave clear. So they just run down mid and take this inhibitor tower. With this control that they had, Anivia was pushing top. Sentinels just have fully cleared out all vision, and DSG decide that it is too difficult to walk in. And this just ends up being a free dragon, but they got the tier 3 as well. Baron is coming up in 30 seconds. This is just after the dragon died, and kind of not the best vision from DSG. But it is just basically a 5v5 mid, and Sentinel Hambach goes on to call me with no flash. His GA goes down, but Kryra has no GA, and the Gnar gets a huge ultimate, stuns both Kaisa and Blitzcrank, I think that was. It's hard to tell. And the game just ends here. So kind of a random fight, although not really because it's Baron in 30 minutes, or in 30 seconds, but call me being a pretty disrespectful here. No flash on the Anivia. But that's not even recent that they lost this fight. It's just Renekton got onto the Kaisa with no cleanse, and Kaisa didn't Zonya's it. So Sentinels come back strong. I was worried that Sentinels were going to kind of get wiped this series, but really good from Sentinels to take home this victory. And we move on to game 3. That game did end. This draft was very exciting. So just look at it. I guess I can just stay out of full screen and then I don't have to move my camera. So we've got Nasus top, Ivern jungle, and Senna not bot with a Yone mid. Sentinels comp is pretty normal. They first pick Yunara. They just like swap really fast. They can swap before, I don't know how, but it was Yunara first pick. DSG's comp is the one that's weird. I think it's a pretty fun draft. I don't know how good it is. I think the strength of it comes down to the execution of it ultimately. If you can reliably make this comp work, then naturally it's good. But I just don't know enough about the way these champs and comps are going to play into each other to feel very confident, at least to say like DSG's comp is really insane or it's bad. I think it's fun, and the Nasus Ivern synergy is real. Ivern Yone synergy is real. The one thing I don't super like is Senna with this draft. I feel like a different AD carry would work better because Senna really wants volatile side lanes, and these side lanes are not that volatile. Yone just basically loses the entire game against Victor in lane, and then outside of lane, he just wins the entire game. It's not even close, and Victor's not really going to fight. And Nasus also just wins inside lane later in the game for free. It's not even close. And in lane, he's not winning. He's just pressing E on cooldown. There's not like super ultra... Oops. There's not super aggressive plays happening. But Senna also has some advantage of this comp, which is that she has a shield, or she has a heal. She has a... That global is still useful when they do fight, and has good synergy with the Ivern to root off of the root. And Senna Nautilus is a very good combo itself, and makes the vision denial from Ivern more potent when there's another source of vision trickery going on here. Just a nice relief gank. So Yone is just getting, you know, poked up constantly in this lane, but this kind of relief gank is really helpful for the Yone's game. So even though Victor is, I would classify it as a pretty difficult lane for Yone, he ends up being just fine. And DSG a bit undisciplined here. Go for this hook, even though I assume they know that Hambach is bot side. I'm not really sure why. Maybe they just thought they were fine. But a nice play here from Huhi to get this Q flash and go on to the Nautilus, who ends up going down. Kryra is on the way, but not there fast enough to make a difference. If he was there before the Nautilus died, probably they would win that because he's already based and has items. But that's not the world we live in. DSG goes down, Lions goes down, and a good start from Sentinels. Sorry, I've had to drink a lot. I've been talking for a while. Okay. So, Ivern is a notoriously pretty slow dragon soloer, but despite that, does get the dragon eventually here. No contest. Kami's doing a pretty good job in the mid lane after that relief gank at a pretty opportune time. And even though they got killed bot lane, Hambach is topside, so the Ivern can spend an hour to kill that dragon. Okay. Hambach wants to invade and take this blue buff. DSG don't want that to happen. So let's see what happens. Good reaction from Hambach. Kryra is sending in Daisy, but Sentinels do prioritize Daisy and do a lot of damage to her. Sen Hambach goes onto Senna, but then a nice flash in from Huhi results in a Sentinel. Oh, there's Senna and Sentinels. Okay, that's a bit confusing. But Sentinels, nice fight there. And I think that comes down to just Daisy dying before really the fight started. And a nice engage from Huhi. I think both resulted in why like that was not even close to, you know, collapsible by DSG. It was just a free fight. After this fight bot side, the grubs are coming up. Castle's been doing completely fine in this top lane, by the way. He's been completely fine. And Kryra opts to just continue clearing his camps and cycling his camps instead of contesting these grubs. Which honestly feels pretty bad because both Yone and Nasus would like to have these grubs for if they're ever on side lane. Nasus destroys towers nowadays. His ultimate reduces his Q cooldown by 50%. So if you're on the other side of the map when a team fight's happening, you just pop that ult and just start one-shotting that tower. Grubs makes that even stronger, but alas, grubs go over to Sentinels. Sentinels has this early game lead, and the dragon spawns, and Sentinels also managed to get this. Kryra opts instead to go topside, get the top crab, and steal some camps, gets the blue, gets the top crab, and Sentinels get dragon. Probably DSG just wants to wait for their item spikes. They don't have a lot of damage yet. Ivern doesn't provide any damage, even though he has a redemption. The Wukong is really fed and has Drive Force. So it doesn't really matter that the champ that usually comes online earlier has his item because the enemy jungler also has his item, and it's a better item. So this is the first lane swap that I felt like mentioning. This doesn't happen that often where it's a lane swap from bot to top. Ever since, you know, season 16, people just stay in their lane, and then at some point the AD carries go mid lane. But this is actually a genuine lane swap where Rahel and Huhi are going to be laning against this Nasus for a while, and the Sen and Nautilus are dealing with the Kennen. They end up not full trading, but because of the timing on Sentinel's lane swap, they get the Herald for free. It is basically uncontestable. Sajed ends up going mid lane, and Sentinels decide to keep this Victor mid lane longer than you often do with the mid laner. Usually as a mid laner, you want to go to a side lane, let your AD carry mid. Well, on a control mage like Victor, there's a lot of value and merit to staying mid lane.
If you fall too far behind, it's not really going to matter.
Okay,
Great,
so
you can scale, you can stack, but if you fall too far behind, it's not really going to matter. And it is closing in on that 2,000 gold.
oh right, okay. So here, Rahel. Sorry, I was like reading my notes and I thought Call Me was the one that's hinting. No, but it is Rahel. Rahel is fighting this Yone and is just losing. The redemption is even a bit late, but now he's just 1 HP, and he tries to alt E out of the Senna ult, but there's a little delay on when you can press your dash after a Yanar ult, and it results in Rahel going down there, kind of in a weird, stupid way. But shortly afterwards, Castle decides that didn't seem fair, so he also decides to have an unforced error and just walk up and die. So 2 random deaths, whatever, not a big deal. Okay, here's a big fight coming in. Look at the bottom left. There's a fight happening, an engage happening. Hambach got engaged on, but is trying to get away. Huhi has to flash away. And now DSG is on the hunt. Can they escape? Oh, Wukong's low. He popped a Herald, so he is going to get out, probably. Unless his Herald dies, but it's very hard to kill Herald. The other 2 seem to get away, and the Wukong also does get away. So this was kind of hilarious. Kind of feels terrible. Yunara is getting free stuff mid lane. And actually, Wukong almost dies again, but okay, whatever. Let's move on. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. The next sequence is coming up here. So in this instance, Darkwings overloads on Impact's lane, and DSG is just slow to react to this. There are all 5 members from DSG here, and the Nasus TP's into a dead tower, but this fight is already unplayably lost. The way that this started, the Yone and Nautilus just got engaged on, had to use all their tools to barely survive, and end up still going down. The TP onto the tower that's dead results in another kill being donated over to Sentinels and a TP going down. So a really good play from Sentinels to find this timer to overload, go bot side, and get the dive off. And now this built a pretty substantial lead, 4K. It's 23 minutes in, so it's not end of the game worthy, but it is quite good for Sentinels to have this lead. Now, Dragon is coming up, and this is what I was curious about when I was watching this game, is how this fight was going to start. That's not how I expected to start, was a hook onto the AD carry. Rahel ends up having to blow his ulti to dash away, but DSG didn't use that many tools to go onto Rahel. Huhi gets chain CC'd, but Huhi is the support, and there's not enough damage after Huhi's death to kill other people, and Sentinels end up winning this fight also. So this is a really good fight from Sentinels, not necessarily through actions of their own, because it seemed like DSG had a good start and they got the one shot onto Huhi, but I think just the fight strategy was not correct from DSG there. They can't afford to spend so much of their damage onto the support and allow the carries from Sentinels to just be free firing. Okay. Here, Rahel dashes in, and it's a bit hard to tell, but Darkwings uses his TP, but both of DSG's solo laners use their TP. All for the cost of the TP from Darkwings and the ulti from Rahel. This is going to make the next couple minutes quite awkward for DSG, because having no TPs means that if Impact ever decides he has time to go to a side lane, there isn't an easy way to answer for DSG. Thankfully, though, Hambach, this is probably his biggest mistake of the series. He gets caught at 27 minutes. He almost turns it around, almost kills Kryra, but barely does go down. Kryra survives. And Avern is one of those champs that even on 1 HP can almost effectively have 100% effectiveness, even at such low HP. And a nice flash hook there from Lions. Darkwings, I don't know. I think his flash might have been down, but regardless, a nice flash hook from Lions, and this 4K gold lead evaporates, I think, unless they hold this. No, they get the Baron. Okay, yeah, they get the Baron. So this gold lead essentially evaporates. Now it's a Baron siege from DSG. Impact is doing a good job at trading while DSG is pushing with Baron. Impact is top lane pushing. Call me, I think, doesn't realize like what's going on and is just so overextended. And while this is a Baron push, it's also 20 seconds before Soul, which is bad. It's not good to die 20 seconds before Infernal Soul. And I was pretty sure at this point that this game was over. I was thinking, I mean, Infernal Soul is, especially with the champs that Sentinels have, they have 4 champs that use it really well. I thought the game was basically over because they should get the dragon here, and after they get the dragon, I find it hard to believe that they're going to lose these team fights. DSG again up to 5v4 this team fight. They go onto the TP, but that 30% health shield and a really nice engage from Huhi ends up securing the team fight and the Dragon Soul. So really good from from Sentinels. Call me kind of slipping there. I don't know what he's doing to get caught like that. That's a kind of unacceptable mistake at this level of play, at this time in the game. You know, there's lots of reasons why that's really, really bad. Now, Sentinels, they don't have a huge gold lead, but they do have Infernal Soul. So, definitely seems like Sentinels are in the lead. And the next fight happens kind of randomly. It looks like Sentinels has caught out Lions. Lions, a huge heal from the Redemption. Ambach uses everything to kill Lions, but ends up going down in trade. And this ends up just not being worth it for Sentinels. The Nasus is a huge problem for Rahel. He can't kill him before the Nasus gets the trade kill. So despite the Infernal Soul and the gold lead from Sentinels, DSG win this fight. And I think it's just because Hambach went in and essentially traded for the Nautilus. Your Wukong is much more important than this Nautilus. Once the Nautilus, hooks one person and ults, he basically did his job. And now the Baron's up, and DSG are the ones with control. And they just start the Baron. And this is a bit strange. Usually you can't just start Baron in front of the enemy team and have it work, especially now with the Baron reducing resistances. But this fight from DSG makes me think that this comp has a lot of potency. And just if this early game wasn't so terrible, it would look a lot better. But Hambach is out of this fight, before he even starts. Huhi gets knocked up. He's out of the fight. Then a nice Yone R onto 2 members of Sentinels. And even though they have Infernal Soul, the game is just over randomly. DSG just start the Nash 5v5 in front of all the members of the team and just end the game. The Senna Nasus went crazy. 700 stacks from Nasus, 120 stacks from Senna. Well played from DSG. Another game where it feels like Sentinels had a pretty favorable position, but made a slight error, and DSG kind of got back into the game. All right. Now, looking at this draft, I would say that I don't like this Ahri setup from DSG, but I understand why we're taking Ahri. We're taking Ahri because Ahri Vi is a really strong combo, and we ban like a million mid laners, so there's not a lot of things that beat Ahri right now. But it's really hard to play Ahri into Vi. Vi is one of the best champs at locking down Ahri because you can ult flash as Vi, and I mean that literally, by the way. Ult and then flash, because then you basically just teleport on top of them and knock them up. And it can be very difficult for Vi to play, or excuse me, for Ahri to play the team fights before she gets Sonya's. And the other reason I find it difficult is Mundo is really bad with Ahri. It's not a good gank setup champ. Now, you do have Nami, who feels really nice to play with as Ahri because she increases your damage on an all-in by a lot. It's another champ that's not really engaged, so it's a bit hard to play Ahri this game, and Ahri is kind of the main engage from Sentinels. But excuse me, from DSG, but Sentinels have a lot of ways to make it really hard for Ari to play the game. So it's really based on how well Calmy is playing to determine if DSG is going to win this game, in my opinion, from draft. And Calmy, this was not his game. I'll just put it like that. This is a very tough game from him. So I'll go full screen. Castle is being a rat. He's just walking in, forcing Hambach to start Wolves on Vi. Feels bad. Vi is one of the worst champs to have to start Wolves because her ability she starts level 1 is W. So it's just a full single target ability. Castle doesn't get any of the creeps gold, but gets the XP, which is all we really care about, and ends up still getting prio. So really good from Castle. Not a huge deal, but these small things are important. Now, because of that delay from the Sentinels jungler, if there's a lot of stuff happening bot lane, Kryra will always be there first. And there was a good trade from Sentinels to get the level 2 first and get a good trade and get both sums from Sajed. A very disrespectful, late flash from Sajed. And then shortly afterwards, another trade happens, and who he potentially overextends, but maybe it was calculated because he doesn't go down here with biscuits. But this is such a crazy lane, and this is way better for Kryra because he's a lot faster, although it ends up not actually mattering, but that's probably just because they were fighting so fast. Now, all this craziness means that the support is actually mid at 3 minutes for some reason. This is not a normal timing for support to be mid. So Calmy has a blow flash, does barely survive. Now it's a 3v3. They're kind of staring at each other. No one really wants to be the first one to go in because then all of the members of the enemy team are going to focus you. Kryra got the bot scuttle, so Hambach really wants this scuttle, but Kryra is not wanting to let him have it. And Kryra doesn't get the smite. Hambach does get it, but DSG is pushing away Sentinels here. Impact has to blow flash, and base here. The top wave really sucks for Impact because it's slow pushing and it's not going to crash. Impact question mark pings it because he's so upset. But Kryra, I think, overplayed his hand here. He was not, they did not win that situation that hard that you can invade Wolves here. Maybe he thought who he had already left. Maybe he thought that Hambach had base, but regardless, Kryra gets caught and gets a kill over to Hambach, which is going to feel really good. This Mundo could potentially be a problem. There's not that good of tank killers on the side of Sentinels, but if you're not ahead on Mundo, you're probably not going to be that perturbed from Sentinels. Okay. Now, in this moment, Kryra is soloing the dragon. The bot lane from DSG, or excuse me, the bot lane from Sentinels is recalling, so this is a good time to do dragon. And Hambach doesn't really get anything immediately, but here, Darkwing's lane's a really nice cage, and they do end up barely one-shotting the Calmy a little early on the Veigar ulti there from Darkwings, but it doesn't matter. And, that's not normally how this combo is going to work, the Veigar Vi. Oh, I also didn't mention the Veigar. Veigar's a classic counter to Ahri. I forgot to mention that. It is going to depend on how well you're good at the Veigar, but Darkwings played the Veigar really well this game, I will say. And a good example is there, where he lands a raw cage against an Ahri who has a move speed increase, barely tips the edge, and this chain CC is really dangerous for Ahri. Case in point, a couple minutes later, Calmy gets stunned again and is so lucky that Darkwings doesn't get the ult off, or Hambach's ulti is not up. Hambach's ulti is up in 10 seconds, and otherwise he would have died again. But flash and ulti down means Grubs is gone, right? We're not fighting Grubs. We can't fight Grubs. We have no flash or ulti. All three go to Sentinels. Good for them. The scuttles up and Hammock just gets it. Okay. So we're going to fight over the next dragon. Castle's been doing a good job top lane, getting a lead, but for now, let's focus on the spot side. Sentinels have this sort of group of 3, and Calmy tries to engage, but this is the problem with playing Ahri into this composition, is you have to be very careful when you're going for the engage. Otherwise, you're going to die instantly. And if we just go back for a second, focus on the right side of your screen here. The MF, it's a bit hard to tell, is in bot lane. It is a straight up 4v3. This is a good fight from DSG to go for this. But the problem is that Calmy just gets 100 to 0. He just cannot play the game. No one else can really be the primary gauge from DSG, and this fight does start. Also, probably important to point out is a very slick flash from Huhi to dodge the charm and then follow up onto the Ahri there. Really nice from Huhi. Outplayed hands check for sure from Sentinels, and that's a backbreaker. That was a 4v3, and you lost it 3-0 or 3-1. So really good from Sentinel's fight, but you know, maybe they shouldn't have been there. If Calmy plays slightly more respectfully, that doesn't happen. Now there was a fight top lane, but you don't see it until the replay. So in the bottom left here, Impact is fighting Castle, and even though Castle was winning this lane early, Impact ends up winning this 1v1, and then Huhi is there just to make sure that it's winning. So I always thought, well, I'm saying I always thought, like, Zahan's been out for forever, but I feel like Jax makes sense to be a counter. And from the lane, Castle was doing a good job, but that fight, you know, I don't know why Impact won, but he won. It's kind of hard to tell. It was a bit small. Anyways, Sentinels get this Herald with their control over the game. Hambach's really fed, has a 1.2k gold lead, almost has his Black Cleaver. They do get the Herald. Some macro, nothing too crazy. And Dragon is spawning very shortly, and Sentinels drop the Herald at the same time. This is very common. You drop the Herald before the Dragon. Lions times the bubble for right after Huhi leaves the Herald, but ends up just allowing Huhi to engage onto his Mundo, and Mundo has to blow flash and ulti, and this secures the Dragon. Castle goes on a bit of an adventure here. I don't know what he's doing, but he is here. He tries recalling there, even though he was in vision, and Darkwings, if he pressed R, would have killed him, but okay. He did get away. That was a bit illegal. So, oh, this is instant. So, Hambach is finding a huge pick on his jet here. Nice play. They get almost the one shot. He barely survives, but then the burn from red buff, I believe. Oh no, the Q through the Mundo kills Sajed there. He's not expecting that. He has flash still, and Kryra ends up going down as well. So actually, if that Q from Rahel didn't kill the Corki, it might have looked a little bit different. But ultimately, that's 2 kills at 20 minutes. That's a Baron. And this is probably the epitome of DSG fighting outnumbered fights. It's a straight up 5v3. And this is, you know, this is where the magic happens. Boom, huge counter strike. Calmy's barely surviving. And after this Q, Calmy intelligently decides to TP away, and Hambach barely doesn't have his Q up in time. So even though it was a straight up 5v3, DSG managed to, you know, get away with murder there and not lose the Baron. This No, it just feels bad. Like Sentinels is playing well to get these leads, and then something goes wrong, and it feels so bad. And it's you know, they're still in a great spot, and the game's still completely in their favor. But you feel like you should be getting more and winning these games faster, and when you're on Sentinel's side. And DSG is getting lucky is maybe not the right word, but fortunate that they're being very adept at when they can win these fights and playing them well from a disadvantageous position. Now the Dragon's up again. And we'll see how this one plays out. Castle is looking for a flank on the Jax, but Impact is covering him well. I don't know how much they're posturing, but let's see how this plays out. I don't know when the fight's happening. Okay, we engage. On to Call Me. He gets Vi-ulted, and he's one shot again. Right. So, not the best from Call Me. It is admittedly hard to play this Ahri into this composition, but this is also like the one thing you can't allow happen. Like, you can't be the one that's getting engaged on. If somebody else gets engaged on and then they all turn onto you very quickly, randomly, I feel like that is a more reasonable way to die rather than being the one that gets engaged on and dying like that. It just feels stupid. And a very nice fight from Sentinels. So even though a little bit of a oopsie at the Baron, they do end up winning this fight pretty cleanly and now have an advantage. Impact tried to do a funny TV play, but it didn't work. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay. So another fight's about to happen. We're posturing over Baron, Krara, and Call Me, but honestly, I don't know what is happening. Like, I don't know why Call Me is doing that. This fight afterwards from Sentinels is very good. They did a good job. It's a complete 5-0. And okay, that's bad. Or maybe it's not 5-0. Maybe Crowder lives. But can we just go back? Like, what are we doing? Is this like bad communication? Because we're clearly concerned by throwing our Mundo Cleaver that somebody might be in there, and it also hits somebody. So like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Also, the Veigar is behind us. I don't know if we're on vision yet, but I'm pretty sure we are on vision here. So like, this is like, I don't know. This is pretty int. Lions isn't even there. Why are we contesting? Like, a bit undisciplined there from DSG, and they get completely punished for it. Afterwards, there's a Baron Siege. Baron Siege was pretty good. They got 2 inhibitor towers. The TP coming in from Castle. And a fight starts, but Sentinel's up 10k, so the fight has to go extremely well for DSG for them to even be winning. And even though they do manage to one-shot Rahel, it ends up not mattering. The Sentinels team is just so far ahead. Rahel wasn't really the problem. The problem is this Veigar. Now, Rahel is a problem because he's AD carry, but the Veigar is very, very strong. And has a cool build, actually. I like this build. Roa Actualizer. I need to try that. I've seen it on a couple champs, but yeah, no, I thought that was pretty interesting. Pretty. It looked like he did a lot of damage, so I don't know. And next. Oh, sorry. And because of this fight, I forgot to mention, the soul is just free. After the Baron Siege, they just DSG decide not to go for this dragon. It's too risky. They're gonna try and survive until Elder, but Sentinels is gonna try to not let that happen. They're pushing for the 3rd inhib. It is completely free. Now it is triple inhibs, and Sentinels just sit in the base, and eventually a thing happens, and a fight starts. So let's find out. Again, long series. I appreciate you all for sticking here. Thank you so much. And we'll just, let this end of the game play out. The Rocket Belt tech from the Ahri, and is completely useless. Sentinels bringing it back once again. So we are going to game 5. Now, with Fearless, I haven't talked about what we should pick and what we shouldn't pick. I've more so just commented on what the result was. I think this is a game where I will talk about what picks were picked and what maybe the alternatives were going to be, because I think DSG got outdrafted, and it's hard to explain why, but once you watch the game, you'll see why I think they got outdrafted. Essentially, in game 5s, what tends to happen is there are often times multiple overpowered picks, and sometimes you have to trade those overpowered picks. In this case, DSG is getting Rumble, who is, first pick in game 1, and Sentinels is getting Varus. Again, the Sentinels is like swapping early somehow, but they first picked Varus. They 1-2'd Varus, Xin Zhao. Varus, Xin Zhao. And Xin Zhao is kind of the only fighter left for picking. They banned the Trundle, who was a good pick into Xin Zhao. And this ends up being a big problem, in my opinion, because I don't like the DSG answer at all from Kryra. He ends up going for the Sejuani Tristana. And the reason I really don't like this from DSG, again, don't look at the pick order from Sentinels. Their whole pick order is wrong. They're just in LCS order. Hui was picked where the Varus is. Hui was picked here. And then we picked Tristana Sejuani into it. And Tristana is bad into Hui. That's like the matchup that you pick into Tristana. Like, if you want to play Hui, I'm going to play it into Tristana. So the fact that we have to pick Tristana into Hui just to enable the Sejuani pick feels really bad. And why do we have to enable the Sejuani pick? Well, there's literally like nothing that has engage that exists. We can't not go engage. They have Hui and Varus. We have to engage. There's no way we're out poking them. So there's just no AD jungler with engage that exists in the game. It's like Briar. If you want to play Briar, then go for it. But that's the only champ. Otherwise, you're picking a champ that doesn't have engage, or you're picking an AP champ or like a tank, like Sejuani is. And if you're picking a tank, you kind of need more AD. You don't want to go Rumble, Sejuani, and another AP champ. That's just so much magic resist value from the Galio that's already on the enemy team and just the Sentinel team in general. So, and Merc's value as well. So this is kind of a pair. I just don't like it. And the reason I don't like it is because of what happens in the game. So we'll just move on. I think Hui should be punishable. Should, quote. But I don't think Tristana is the punish. So DSG is trying to invade this Gromp with the Rumble strength. So Rumble is the DSG's, advantage in this game. They have an OP top laner, and they try to use it to invade. The problem is that invading Gromp is very difficult to do, because even though Rumble wins 1v1 and has Prio, the Galio is still, 8 seconds faster to this fight. If we just go back, Galio just leaves the lane and is just here while Rumble is still pushing. Rumble can't leave right now and get there even close to at the same time as the Galio. So DSG just are forced to bail, and unfortunately this barely clips the Bard. Bard should have flashed that and he would have been fine, but ends up going down here, which is pretty bad. And this small deficit ends up snowballing into a huge problem for Kryra. 1 camp stolen already. Let's keep track. Not really. We're just gonna go through the game, and all the times I marked that he stole camps, we're gonna look at those times. Okay, so Sentinels is doing Dragon. Okay, Varus is also an OP champ. Sivir is also pretty good, and it's pretty good to Varus, but the ball lane's going well for Sentinels. And Darkwings with that kill and the matchup that is kind of hard for Tristana. It's not that easy at the rush Mercs, and you're still useless. This dragon is pretty free. And Huhi does this multiple times this game, and this is a huge problem for DSG. He pulls this wave, so now the wave is slow pushing towards Sentinels. So if no one goes bot lane, DSG is losing infinite here. It's so bad for DSG. They try to cancel the base, and because they literally saw Bard base on vision, Hambach is saying, yep, this is my blue. Okay, Darkwings has mid prow, so he's also coming for this blue. This blue is Sentinels. Now, Sentinels is going to try to take this Gromp. So, DSG, remember, bot lane is so bad. The wave is pushing away. That's an entire extra range creep for DSG's minion wave, so that's going to snowball. And Hambach got this Gromp. They don't show it, but Hambach gets this Gromp. So we stole 2 camps, we got Dragon, and bot's losing infinite right now. This is awful. And this all stems from the fact that we're not picking a champion that can fight the Xin Zhao. It's Sejuani versus Xin Zhao. It's not fightable. The Bard had the base. We have a Tristana into Hui. And part of the reason we can't fight, by the way, is what AD champ are we supposed to pick other than Tristana into Hui? Jace is banned, Yone's gone. Are you gonna pick a different AD champ mid lane? Corki's also gone. I mean, you could pick a different AD carry, but like, does that really change it? I don't really think so. It just feels really bad for Kryra. And there's a bit of this fight around mid lane here. Kryra gets pulled to go over here, and Hambach just says, Darkwings, you're on your own, don't die. I'm doing the grubs. So while Kryra is busy stopping or like staring at Darkwings, Hambach manages to sneak 2 grubs, even though they shouldn't be getting grubs this game. Rumble should be Faker incarnate right now, but with the way that the waves were in top lane and mid lane, Hambach manages to steal 2 grubs, which is really good. Flash from Darkwings. Blows. Okay. So, here. This is about 2 minutes, 15 seconds after the last play where they invaded and stole the blue. Hambach, excuse me. Yeah, Hambach catches Lions and kills them. Okay, well now we're losing our camps again. This sucks. We just have to leave. There's no camps. I'm just homeless on Sejuani here. I'm losing both of my camps again. And now this sucks. So, I lost my Wolves and my Gromp. Thankfully, for DSG, Hambach does have a very greedy recall here. Well, I mean, maybe greedy is the wrong word. It's unfortunate because he's recalling on a ward. Almost 1v3 so much is crazy. You know, he almost kills Sajad here. I think he gets his flash. Boom. Flash. GG. Almost 1v3s them. He dies and gives a bunch of gold back. But it still doesn't really change the state of the game. The game is still messed up. And because of all the shenanigans happening in the jungle of blue side of red side, blue side, of red side, blue buff, the bot lane is just up 40 CS. And that's part of because of the multiple invades and like the way the wave was really bad. It just resulted in a huge lead for Varus. And Xin Zhao's also really ahead, even though he just died. So it just feels impossible to contest from DSG's side. SEN, get this dragon. Sorry, I'm like losing my ability to talk. Okay, yeah. So after the dragon, they go back again to this side of the map. They're just living here. They do not want this Sejuani to play the game. And that, like, the fact that this is possible is so problematic. Now, at this point, it's not really composition. It's just SEN is just so ahead. It carries up 50 CS. He has a full item. The mid laner's up an item. The junglers are almost even, but Xin Zhao is just stronger in a fight right now. The champ is just better at fighting in these skirmishes. Because there's not enough damage from DSG to kill anyone that Sejuani CCs. Xin Zhao almost 1v3'd them. You know what I mean? Like, how are you supposed to win a 4v4 if Zinzak could 1v3 you almost? So, more camp stolen, and bot lane's also still getting screwed because of this. So, I mean, huge lead. It's only a 1k gold lead. The only reason it's a 1k gold lead is because the other, like, the trade for all of this was Rumble, and Rumble is up more than anyone is almost. He's barely less than Rahel. He's up 1k basically 1v1. Which I don't think is supposed to happen in this lane, to be fair. But Castle's doing a really good job being up a lot of gold. And that's why this lead doesn't look insane. Because he's just doing a great job 1v1. Herald spawns, and DSG can't fight. Rumble's bot side. DSG needs to play around this Rumble and utilize him, because he's the only trump card that DSG have. And to their credit, they do manage to make some plays here. So Darkwing's TP's bot lane, and Castle, instead of deciding to recall, instead stays, and Darkwings fails his flash. Now, this is actually really smart what Kryra did. He walked where Darkwings would need to walk to flash over this wall. Darkwings doesn't have an ability to ghost him, and so you can walk through units. So he was just dead here. Really smart play from Kryra, using the large Sejuani model to survive. And this is really big, because I think, yeah, Darkwings had a shutdown. Rumble got it. So now Rumble is actually quite strong. But this is also kind of an awkward-ish, it's an awkward-ish game state where you have one guy on your team that's really strong and stronger than anyone in the game. But does that matter? Like, can this Rumble really solo carry this game against Xin Zhao, Galio, Rakan? Like, is that actually happening? Well, we'll see. A skirmish starts. Huhi took a lot of damage. Hambach is in there trying to defend Huhi. Has to blow ult. Nice McHale's from Huhi to get away safely. And because of that fight, bot side, Call Me is thinking he has what it takes to get this tower. And I think just loses track of where people are. He kind of, I don't know. He kind of just realized he was dead and just stayed. But a bit not worth. You don't need to die for this. Dying, I mean, okay, he gets the kill, which he shouldn't get, but you can get that tower anytime, right? Rumble will get that tower eventually at some point. Whenever he's laning against anybody, he wins lane. So we don't need to die for this tower. And another, yeah, a similar mistake as to before that Call Me made on Yone, where he died pushing the tower for no reason. Here, kind of similar, where he's just dying, not respecting the roam timing from Sentinels. In this case, kind of coming from base. But regardless, Sentinels did punish Call Me for his hubris, and now we're talking about a Drake fight. Sentinels get the dragon. Equalizer goes down. This is the third dragon for Sentinels. Again, they've had a huge lead bot side, so of course they're stacking these dragons. Not on spawn, but pretty close. They're about like 2 minutes late. And oh, a pause. We always love a pause. Oh, this VOD just gets rid of it. That's brilliant. Okay, so DSG, Huhi goes on Call Me. He gets away. Sentinel's impact looks for something, but Call Me is now left alone. But this Bard ult is absolutely insane. He gets both Huhi and impact, both people who prefer to take the tower. Doesn't hit the tower. Darkwings end up taking the tower and then gets Sejuani ulted. So even though Call Me was getting dove 1v3 on the tower, this is the power of Bard. And afterwards, Castle shows up and just starts roasting them with the equalizer, with the Rumble damage. And DSG go for this Baron. But while DSG is going for the Baron, Castle is trying to cancel bases, and then DSG have to pull off and don't end up getting this Baron. Miscommunication. I agree, Azale. Miscommunication from DSG. Shouldn't have done that. And unfortunate for the DSG side. They could have gotten the Baron there. So this one, a lot calmer than some of the other games. Some of the other games were just constant fighting. This is 3 to 4, 24 minutes in. Some of these other games were, you know, 50 to 50 almost. But that being said, just because it's a slow, methodical game doesn't mean that nothing is going to happen, because you have to be very careful. This Rumble is the core of this team, but he does just get caught. He has no flash, and Hambach just sends it onto him, and he goes down. And that's bad. That's a huge part of your damage. And Sajed, oh, this is hustless. Oh my god. So Sajed gets rooted by the Varus ulti on someone else, and then Lion's magical journey is a fail one and doesn't go over the wall. So Sajed dies. Lion's crying because it's magical journey. I mean, I've never seen that, to be fair. Like, that's such a weird... I mean, look at this one. Like, you're telling me that doesn't go through the wall? Okay, whatever. I'm sorry, Lions. You kind of got screwed over there, but that happens sometimes, and it's Mountain Soul. It's Mountain Soul. You know, they were on Dragon Soul Point. Castle, I feel like it's been playing pretty well every single game. That's one of the only big mistakes I can really remember. Although maybe he made some other ones, but like, that's a pretty big mistake. And it couldn't have come at a worse time, because now it's Mountain Soul. And Mountain Soul is really annoying for Rumble specifically, because a big part of the way your champion works is you just press R on the backline, like as a fight starts, and Mountain Soul is just so annoying because it just blocks a lot of that damage. Not just because of the resist, but that shield. It's just, you always get a lot of value from it, because if you use it too much before a fight, their shield's going to come back up, and then it's just free health. Anyways, Sentinels start Nash. They're looking for an engage. The Bardock comes out. What's going to happen? Baron's at 4k. It's too high to finish. Sentinels go for the turn. Hambach takes a ton of damage, though, and goes down. Castle still does a lot of damage. Flashes out and survives. A lot of damage taken by DSG. They don't feel confident enough to start the Nash, but they did manage to stop Sentinels from doing Nash. Call me. I didn't even write this in my notes. I don't even know what's going to happen. Well, I know that nothing happens, but that was exciting. Okay, cool. So Sentinel's still winning. They need to progress the game in some way. Really, Baron's the only way. So they start Baron again. Last time it didn't work. Will this time it work? Let's find out. So in this situation, Sentinels are grouped as 5, and DSG is like kind of 2 and 3. But that just ends up not being the way that DSG needs to team fight. They can't have the Rumble and Tristana so split from one side of the map, because Sentinels has a lot of engage. They do have Varus Hui, a poke set of champs, although it is on hit Varus. It's not really poke. There is a Rakan, a Varus, a Xin Zhao WE, and a Galio potential flash taunt angle that can look for the engage. And Sentinels get the first initial fight win, but then Rahel and, excuse me, Call Me and Castle fight and kill the Varus, sort of in the aftermath. But Call Me gets caught on the recall, and Castle gets caught on the recall, so it ends up not being worth for DSG. And it's just a Baron start again, but this time you don't have your Fed Rumble, and Call Me managed to turn around his gold. He is actually up a lot of gold now, I think, because he got a couple shutdowns or something. And DSG opt to just give this Baron. Sentinels keep this, and the reason DSG get the Baron is because Elder has spawned, and with Elder spawning, it's very unlikely that Sentinels is going to get a very effective Baron power play, but it will make the Elder easier to contest, and the Baron does give stats itself. So we are going to fight Elder, and we'll see how it goes. If Sentinels win this fight, it could mean the end of the game. If DSG win the fight, it could be another notch on Sentinels going in mid game. How does it go? Galio is pushing mid. Elder's at 10k here. Ambach going in very early. And the Bard ulti, the Rumble ulti, and the Sejuani ulti all go at the same time onto the back line. And that miscommunication error ends up costing DSG. And Azael is being very critical of this Bard ulti. And I'm here to be the contrarian and say I don't think it was Bard's fault. Without listening to comms, and they do end the game here. So congratulations, Sentinels. They did win a genuinely amazing series. This was a really fun series to watch. If we just go back to this fight very quickly. The reason I think this Bard ulti is good is when the enemy engages onto you, if you can CC both carries with an ultimate, that's usually correct. And it just happens to be at the same time that Rumble is ulting and Sejuani is ulting. Everyone is doing the same thing. There's an engage. They're trying to stop the backline from being able to follow up on the engage. I think the best possible way to play this team fight is Bard ulting this. And I stand on that. I stand by that. The Bard ulti is the only thing that should have been used here. It is hard. Like, everyone's doing the same thing. You know, like, I understand that it like the Bard ulti is the thing that is like, because the other two use their ultis, Bard shouldn't have. But I feel like Bard should have used his ulti because it was really good. And there are other opportunities for an equalizer and Sejuani ulti that would be better or closer to the value you'd get. Whereas this is like one of the best Bardos you can get, in my opinion. So ultimately, this kind of costs a fight because they do manage to kill Darkwings right after, but Rahel doesn't die. And Sajed, you know, he's been trying to kill the Elder Dragon, but it's not even close to dead. He goes down. He has no flash. And congratulations to Sentinels. They did a fantastic job. Long video. I appreciate you for watching. I think I'm surprised that Sentinels won, to be honest. I think they have a bit of a mid-game hiccup, and DSG has a tendency to keep wanting to fight odd-numbered fights and winning them. I have to say that my player of the series is Hambach, for sure. I think he played a phenomenal series. I think Kryra has looked really good in his other series. And in this one, I feel like Hambach, especially in the later games, is really running the show. Now, part of that, I think, is draft, especially that game 5. Like, I don't think Kryra is set up for success. He's on the Sejuani. He can't really do much if his team's not there. But overall, really well played from Sentinels. I think Call Me was a bit disappointing, honestly. I think he had a pretty disappointing Triss game, a pretty disappointing Yone game. And I think Sajed played really well. I think Castle played really well. And Huhi also, I think, had a really phenomenal series. Rahel, I know, is really insane to the game. I think he had like a fine series. Again, this is I'm not trying to flame the players. Just to be clear, like, they're all phenomenal and deserving of their spot, in my opinion. But based on what I see, what I saw from this series, I'm just giving my thoughts on who I think played well, who I think didn't play well. And I'm excited for tomorrow. C9 vs FlyQuest is going to be a banger of a series. Hopefully this comes out before that series comes out. But we'll see. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to watch the next one. Like this video, subscribe, and comment, and all that stuff. Yay! All right. Bye-bye.